Ilara Voss's scream tore through the fog like a blade, swallowed almost immediately by the hollow valley. Her hands clawed at the cracked stone walls of the carriage bridge as the horses reared, sensing something unseen in the grey mist. The manor loomed ahead, half swallowed by ivy and decay, its windows like hollow eyes staring down at her grief. She could taste the coppery tang of fear, and something else, something ancient and metallic, clinging to the air. A whisper of her daughter's name curled through the fog, fragile and accusing. "Lily, why did you leave me?" The road wound tighter, choked by skeletal trees that scratched at her cloak like accusing fingers. Every step toward the manor pressed memories into her skull, the sound of her daughter laughing in the sun, the soft brush of her hand in the morning, now replaced by emptiness, silence, and an unhealable wound. Ilara's carriage wheels crunched over frost-shattered stones, the only sound besides the wind whispering secrets from unseen corners. She had returned, driven by a mixture of despair and stubborn hope. Hope that the walls that had cradled her ancestors might reveal why Lily had vanished from life so suddenly. The manor gates groaned as she pushed them open, the iron cold and slick beneath her gloves. A shiver darted down her spine, as if the house itself exhaled, welcoming and warning in the same breath. Ilara dismounted, her boots sinking into mud and frost, and stared at the towering facade. Windows were broken, their panes jagged like the shards of her own heart. She could almost hear the echo of her daughter's giggle bouncing against the crumbling stone, impossible, yet undeniable. The wind carried a faint scent of lilacs and decay, memories of happier days, now twisted with the uncanny. Inside, the manor swallowed her in darkness. Candlelight flickered on rotating tapestries, revealing shadows that bent and lingered longer than light should allow. A portrait of her ancestors hung crookedly on the wall, their eyes unsettlingly alive, almost accusing her of a crime she had yet to understand. As she stepped further, the air turned icy, pressing into her chest, each breath visible in the flickering glow. She paused at the grand staircase, hand brushing against the banister, feeling a vibration, like a heartbeat from beneath the wood. "You are not welcome here," it seemed to say. In the hallway, she noticed a faint scratch on the wall, small letters etched deep into plaster. "Find her. Stop it." Ilara's pulse hammered. The handwriting was unfamiliar, yet somehow familiar, like a half-remembered nightmare. She staggered to a window, peering out at the valley swallowed by fog, wondering if the local villagers' whispers were true, that the house itself could bend minds, reveal truths too terrible to speak aloud. Rage and grief coiled in her chest. Whoever or whatever was responsible for Lily's death would pay. And then, from the depths of the manor, a soft, almost pleading sigh whispered her name. Ilara froze. Her heart froze with it. She was not alone. Next we discover the first secret hidden in the manor's shadowed library, and the veil that begins to show its true horror. Before we go deeper, understand this. This story isn't for everyone. If you're still here, you're one of the few who can face what America buried. Subscribe now, and tell me in the comments, what state are you listening from? And would you dare hear this story from your own backyard? Chapter 2. Whispers in the Library. Ilara's hand trembled as she pushed open the library door. The hinges groaned like a dying animal, echoing through the hollow corridors. Dust motes danced in the candlelight, and the scent of old paper and mold wrapped around her like a shroud. Something had shifted in the manor, something waiting, watching. A chill traced her spine, and she instinctively hugged her shawl tighter, feeling the invisible weight of eyes upon her. The library was cavernous, its high shelves sagging under the weight of centuries. Books lay scattered on the floor, some open, their pages yellowed and brittle. At the center of the room, a large mirror stood draped in a black velvet cloth, its frame carved with curling, claw-like motifs. Ilara's breath hitched. She remembered the villagers' hushed warnings, the veil, a cursed mirror that revealed truths and drove people mad. Her fingers itched to pull the cloth away, and yet dread rooted her in place. A soft rustle came from the shadows, a shifting of fabric, or perhaps something more sinister. "Who's there?" she called, her voice cracking. Only silence answered, thick and suffocating. A chair scraped across the floor behind her. She whirled, catching a glimpse of movement. Nothing. Yet the feeling of being followed, of unseen attention, pressed against her chest. Ilara's eyes fell upon an open journal lying on a pedestal as though waiting. The handwriting was jagged, hurried. "The curse is alive. The veil sees all. Beware the hunger for what is lost." She shivered, recognizing the despair in the script. Her ancestors' voices trembled across time, their confessions etched into ink. She turned the pages quickly, discovering ritual diagrams, names crossed out in red, and notes of unnatural experiments, attempts to twist life and death, to trap souls in mirrors, to defy the end. A sudden gust extinguished her. Candle. Darkness swallowed her whole. Heart hammering, Ilara struck a match, the flame trembling in her hand. In the fleeting light, shadows moved unnaturally, elongating toward her like reaching fingers. She stumbled back, clutching the journal, her thoughts spiraling. Lily's face flashed before her eyes, smiling, laughing, gone. Rage flared, mixing with grief, burning like a fever. If the veil had anything to do with this, she would uncover it. Then a whisper, soft, deliberate, almost intimate, slithered into her ear. "Ilara, you cannot hide from what you are." She spun, but the library was empty, only the mirror waiting. Her reflection wavered strangely, not quite matching her movements. She blinked, and in that instant, her eyes in the glass gleamed with hatred. Not her own, but something older, something inhuman. A sudden cold struck her chest, and the journal fell open to a page she had not yet seen. A sketch of a girl, small, delicate, unmistakably Lily, trapped within the swirling lines of the mirror's frame. Red stains marked her wrists. A voice in her mind screamed, "She is here! She is calling!" Ilara's knees buckled. Her grief twisted into something raw and uncontrollable. The mirror waited silently, daring her to look closer, to uncover the truth she feared most. And yet she could not resist. Somewhere deep within the manor, footsteps echoed, slow, deliberate, advancing toward the library. Next, we discover the first encounter with the shadows that guard the veil and the whispers that tempt Ilara toward forbidden knowledge. Chapter 3. The Mirror's First Truth. Ilara's hands shook as she stepped closer to the draped mirror. The library seemed to breathe around her, walls contracting and expanding with a sound like sighing lungs. Every instinct screamed to stop, to turn away, but the pull was irresistible. She reached out, fingers brushing the velvet, and a chill surged through her, crawling beneath her skin like icy worms. The whispers returned, a chorus of voices both pleading and mocking. See what was hidden. See what was lost. Her breath hitched. The air thickened, heavy with the scent of decay and lilac, Lily's favorite flower. The velvet fell away as if obeying her, revealing the glass. At first it reflected only the familiar room, the sagging shelves, the scattered books. But then, slowly, the image warped. Shadows pooled in the corners, coalescing into shapes that should not exist. Faces flickered in the glass, women screaming silently, children weeping, ancestors leering with teeth bared. Ilara staggered back, her heart hammering. It's only a mirror, she told herself, yet the reflections moved independently, mocking her. And then she saw it. Lily, standing behind her in the glass, eyes wide and pleading. Her daughter's lips moved, mouthing words she could not hear. Panic surged. "Lily!" Ilara cried, reaching into the glass, feeling the surface ripple under her fingers like water. A sudden pain stabbed her chest as the whispers surged louder, accusing, relentless. "Mother, what will you sacrifice?" The journal in her hand fell open again, pages fluttering violently despite the still air. Symbols she did not understand glowed faintly in the dim candlelight. Her vision blurred, memories of her daughter intertwining with these unnatural images. Rage ignited in her chest. How dare the manor hold her child prisoner in some ancient game? Her love, pure, desperate, curdled into fury. Sure, he wanted to smash the mirror, burn the library, strike down anyone who had allowed this horror. Then, movement. At the edge of the room, shadows detached from the walls. They slithered along the floor, serpentine and black, curling around books and furniture, eyes glinting faintly like dying embers. Ilara's pulse raced. She swung the journal like a weapon, but the shadows recoiled only slightly, whispering, "You belong to us. Your grief is our feast." Ilara's knees gave way. She sank to the floor, chest heaving, tears burning her eyes. The mirror's reflection shifted again. Not Lily this time, but her own face, eyes hollow, lips twisted into a scream she had never made. The journal's words seemed to writhe on the pages, forming new sentences she did not write. To know the truth, you must offer a piece of your soul. A sudden crash behind her made her spin. Candles toppled, flames guttering, smoke curling into the corners. The shadows recoiled, then surged forward, pushing her toward the mirror. Fear and rage tangled inside her like knives. She understood with a horrifying clarity that the manor was alive, that it had been waiting, hungry, and her daughter's death might have been only the beginning. Ilara's voice trembled with a mixture of fury and sorrow. "I will not be afraid. I will not leave you, Lily. I will face this." And as her reflection began to speak, her own lips forming words she did not intend, Ilara realized that the veil did not just show truth. It demanded a reckoning. Next, we discover the first journal's secret ritual and the horrifying discovery of what her ancestors offered to the veil in exchange for power. Disclaimer: this is a work of pure fiction. All characters, events, places, and supernatural elements are entirely imaginary and created for entertainment purposes only. No real historical figures or events are depicted. Chapter 4: The Ancestral Pact. Ilara pressed herself against the cold stone wall, trembling. The shadows had recoiled into the corners, leaving the mirror's warped reflection as the only witness. Candlelight flickered across the journal's pages, illuminating a section she had not noticed before. Her eyes widened as she read the heading, written in looping, jagged script, "The Covenant of the Veil." The text described a ceremony older than any living memory, a ritual her ancestors had performed to bind their souls to the manor, to grant them influence beyond death. The price was clear, horrifying. A piece of the heart of the living, stolen from those closest, sacrificed to the mirror, so it might preserve life in twisted reflection. Ilara's stomach turned. Her hands shook, and a metallic taste filled her mouth. Lily. Could this curse have claimed her? A cold wind swept through the library, extinguishing the remaining candles. The shadows stirred again, whispering from every corner. The mother must choose. The mother must pay. Ilara's pulse thundered. She had thought grief was her heaviest burden, but now she felt the weight of something far older, something lurking in the veins of her bloodline. Her ancestors had toyed with life and death, and the manor had hungered. Her fingers traced the ritual diagram on the page, intricate symbols forming a trap of impossible geometry. As she studied it, images flashed in her mind. A little girl in a flowing white dress, held over the mirror's black surface, cries that twisted into silence as shadows swallowed her. The journal shivered in her hands, as though alive. Ilara gasped, stumbling backward. "No! No, Lily!" The words ripped from her throat, raw with fear and rage. A voice came from the mirror itself, soft, coaxing, almost intimate. "Your love is power, Ilara. Give it willingly, and she may return. Refuse, and all is lost." Her breath caught. Could it be true? Could the veil offer her daughter back, at any cost? She clenched her fists, nails biting into her palms. Rage and despair warred within her, each emotion clawing for dominance. The shadows shifted, whispering secrets of the past. Faces appeared in the corners of her vision, ancestors contorted in ecstasy and agony, offering up their own children, their own souls, in blind devotion to the mirror. The manor itself seemed to pulse with hunger, craving her submission. Ilara felt her grip on sanity falter. How much was she willing to sacrifice? How far would she go for Lily? Her knees buckled beneath the weight of revelation. Tears mingled with fury, and in that instant she understood. The manor had been waiting for her. Every creaking floorboard, every icy gust, every whisper had been a lure, drawing her deeper into the ancestral web. Her love for Lily had become both weapon and chain. A sudden crash made her whirl. The mirror's surface shimmered, and the reflection of Lily's face twisted into a silent scream. Shadows surged forward, filling the room with a suffocating darkness, eyes glinting with hunger. The journal trembled violently, and Ilara realized the truth in her bones. She had no choice but to confront the veil, or her daughter would be lost forever. Ilara's voice shook with determination. "I will face you. Whatever you are, I will find her, and I will not fail." From the depths of the manor came a low, almost imperceptible laugh, a sound that was neither human nor entirely of the shadows. Next we discover the first night alone in the manor, when the veil begins its relentless torment, and Ilara experiences visions that blur memory, grief, and horror. Chapter 5. Night of the Veil. The first night in the manor was worse than Ilara could have imagined. The wind howled through broken windows, carrying voices that sounded like her daughter's laughter, twisted into cries. Every step she took echoed unnaturally, as if the hallways themselves had been stretched into a distorted labyrinth. Shadows slithered across the walls, stretching and bending like dark water, moving with intention. Her heart pounded in her chest, a drum of fear and fury she could not silence. Ilara wrapped herself in a heavy shawl and tried to light the fireplace. The flame sputtered, then flared, casting monstrous shapes across the room. The mirror in the library haunted her thoughts, its surface shimmering behind closed eyelids. It knows. It knows everything. Her fingers trembled as she reached for the journal again, desperate for guidance. The ink seemed alive, the words shifting when she wasn't looking. The veil hungers for the living. It sees love as weakness. It will test the mother. A soft giggle, impossibly close, froze her blood. She whirled, and for a fleeting moment, Lily's face appeared in a cracked mirror across the hallway. Her daughter's eyes were wide, gleaming with panic, her lips mouthing a silent warning. Ilara ran toward the reflection, but the moment she reached it, it vanished. Only the shadow of her own despair remained. The night deepened. Each hour brought whispers that crawled into her ears, promising revelations and demanding obedience. You must know. You must see, or lose her forever. Cold hands, real, intangible, brushed her shoulders, and she shivered violently, the metallic tang of fear filling her mouth. Memories of Lily's warmth clashed with visions of her death, blood and shadow intermingling, until Ilara could no longer tell which was memory and which was illusion. Then the walls seemed to breathe. Portraits of ancestors twisted in the flickering firelight, eyes following her, mouths opening silently as if to speak curses that echoed in her mind. The veil, she realized, did not just dwell in the mirror. It was everywhere, woven into the very stones of the manor. It had waited for her return, feeding on grief and twisting it into obsession. A sudden crash in the library made her sprint down the hall, candles clattering from their sconces. The journal lay open on the floor, pages fluttering as though alive. Diagrams she did not understand glowed faintly. The mirror's velvet cover had fallen. She approached cautiously, heart hammering, only to see her own reflection contort into shapes she had never imagined. Her face melting into shadows, eyes glowing with rage, lips twisted in a scream that felt both hers and another's. Ilara fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. Rage and love coiled together like vipers, each demanding dominance. She realized, with a chilling clarity, that the veil was testing her, probing her grief, her fury, her willingness to go beyond the limits of sanity. If she faltered, it would claim more than her mind. It would claim Lily. From the mirror, a soft voice called, almost gentle, almost coaxing. "Ilara, Will you cross the line? Will you pay the price for what you love? She gritted her teeth, gripping the journal tightly. I will, she whispered, voice trembling. I will pay anything. I will not lose her again. A shadow detached itself from the library corner, crawling across the floor toward her, eyes glowing faintly red. It halted just before her, a shape barely human, yet familiar, whispering, Then the veil awakens. Next we discover the horrifying visions that the veil forces upon Ilara, showing her ancestors' cruel bargains and revealing a secret about Lily's death that shakes her to her core. Chapter 6. Visions of Blood and Memory. Ilara awoke in a cold sweat, the manor silent, except for the low groan of the wind through the broken eaves. Candlelight flickered weakly, casting elongated shadows across the floorboards. Her heart thudded as if trying to escape her chest. The veil's whispers had not left her. They lingered in her ears, murmuring in tones that alternated between consolation and accusation. She rose, every movement stiff with dread, and approached the library. The mirror stood uncovered, its surface rippling as though breathing. The shadows curled at its base, and the faint glow from the journal illuminated words she had not seen before. To see the truth, one must bleed with memory. Ilara's breath hitched. A sudden cold clawed at her chest, pulling her toward the mirror. When she looked, the reflection was not her own. Instead, she saw her ancestors, their faces contorted in ecstasy and torment, performing rituals in dimly lit chambers. She watched a girl, small, pale, unmistakably Lily, held over a pool of black water, her cries silenced as shadows slithered into her body. Rage surged. She wanted to leap forward, smash the mirror, tear the manor apart. But the veil did not allow such violence. It wanted something deeper. The whispers grew louder, swirling into a cacophony. See what you have inherited. See what you must confront. See what you might become. The reflection shifted, and Ilara found herself looking at her own body as a vessel for the curse, her face pale, eyes hollow, hands reaching out to grasp a child she could no longer touch. The room twisted around her, walls bending, floors rippling. Her mind struggled to anchor itself, memories of Lily mingling with visions of ancestral cruelty. Then a hand, cold, insubstantial, brushed her cheek. Ilara gasped, spinning. Shadows filled the room, forming grotesque shapes, whispering secret words that she could not ignore. One voice stood out above the rest, soft but clear. She did not fall by chance. She was offered, willingly or not, to awaken the veil. Ilara's knees buckled. The weight of realization pressed down on her. Lily's death had not been natural. Her grief twisted into raw, searing hate. Her fingers clenched the journal so tightly the pages creased. She remembered the final evening with Lily, her laughter, her words, the sudden chill, the inexplicable fear in her daughter's eyes. Something or someone had orchestrated it, something bound to the curse of her ancestors. Tears blurred her vision, mixing with fury. No, she whispered, voice hoarse. No, you will not keep her, not from me. The shadows recoiled slightly at the intensity of her emotion, yet the mirror shimmered with renewed menace. The veil was testing her, her love, her rage, her willingness to confront the darkness that had claimed her child. From the depths of the glass, Lily's face appeared again, pale and silent, lips moving slowly. Mother, help me. Ilara's chest constricted with despair and determination. She could not falter, could not allow the veil to win. Her love, twisted as it was, had become a weapon, sharp and blazing. A faint scratching echoed from the far corner of the library. Something, someone, was moving in the shadows. Ilara stiffened. The manor was no longer merely haunted. It was awake, aware, and hungry. Next, we discover the first attempt to communicate directly with the veil and the dangerous bargain Ilara must consider to uncover the truth of Lily's fate. Chapter 7. Bargaining with Shadows. Ilara's hands were slick with cold sweat as she approached the mirror once more. Candlelight flickered violently, shadows twisting into grotesque parodies of familiar forms. The air smelled of iron and damp stone, thick with a weight that pressed into her chest. Every instinct screamed to run, yet she could not. Lily's silent plea hovered in her mind, unrelenting. "Mother, help me." The mirror pulsed faintly, its surface rippling like dark water. Elara swallowed, her voice trembling. "If you have her, if you are keeping her, I will give you anything. Name it." The room responded with silence at first, then a soft, sibilant whisper that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere. "Anything?" Her breath caught. The journal quivered in her hands, pages flipping rapidly to reveal ritual markings she had not yet deciphered. The mother's vow must be absolute. The veil feeds upon sacrifice. The veil does not bargain with half measures. Elara's pulse raced. She had expected resistance, perhaps cruelty, but the mirror's demand felt almost sentient, a probing of her very soul. The reflection shimmered, and Lily appeared again, suspended in a shadowy void behind her own mirrored face. Her daughter's eyes were wide, fearful, yet imploring. Elara's throat tightened, tears blinding her. Anything," she repeated, voice cracking. "Take it. Just return her to me." A surge of cold ran through the library, extinguishing the candles. In the darkness, whispers multiplied, overlapping in chaotic harmony. "To reclaim what is lost, a piece of yourself must remain. A mother's blood, a mother's devotion, or the child remains bound forever." Elara's stomach churned. The price was unmistakable. Her very essence, her life force, her sanity, could be demanded by this ancient curse. A shadow detached itself from the far corner of the room, writhing, forming a shape almost human, but utterly wrong. It coiled around her ankles, sending an icy fire through her veins. Her own reflection in the mirror contorted, lips forming words she had not spoken. "Do you love her enough to destroy yourself?" Elara's heart hammered. The thought of surrendering herself, her mind, her being, was terrifying, yet the vision of Lily trapped in that shadowy void burned hotter than fear. Rage, grief, and love tangled within her, sharp and raw. She gritted her teeth. "I will do what is necessary," she whispered, the words tasting of iron and fire. "I will pay the cost, whatever it is. Just give me my child." The mirror's surface swirled violently, reflections and shadows merging into a vortex. Whispers rose into a crescendo, unintelligible yet laden with menace. For a fleeting moment, Elara glimpsed other lives, children of her ancestors, trapped and screaming, consumed by the veil's insatiable hunger. She shivered, but the vision of Lily's pleading eyes anchored her resolve. The shadows retreated slightly, forming a tunnel of darkness leading deeper into the manor. The mirror pulsed once, sharply, and the whisper slithered into her ear. "Follow, if you dare. The truth waits, and the price must be known before the bond is broken." Elara swallowed her fear, clutching the journal. Her voice was steadier now, hard and determined. "Then I will go. I will face whatever you demand." Somewhere deep in the manor, a floorboard creaked. Footsteps were approaching, and this time they were not hers. Next we discover Elara's descent into the hidden wing of the manor, where the veil's deepest secrets are etched in blood and shadow, and the first confrontation with the lingering spirits of her ancestors. Chapter 8. The Hidden Wing. The manor groaned as Elara descended the narrow spiral staircase that led to a wing she had never seen before. The air grew colder with each step, thick with the scent of damp stone, mold, and something fouler, decay that seemed almost alive. Candlelight from the library had not followed her. The shadows here were absolute, pressing in from all sides. She gripped the journal tightly, feeling its trembling pulse as if it shared her fear. A sudden draught extinguished the lantern she carried. Darkness swallowed her entirely. Her pulse raced as she fumbled along the wall, fingertips tracing jagged stone. A whisper, soft, almost childlike, coiled around her ears. "Mother, you've come, but are you ready?" She froze. The voice was unmistakable in tone, though impossible in origin. Lily? Or some trick of the veil? Her grief burned hotter than fear, and she pressed forward. The corridor opened into a chamber, vast and suffocating. The ceiling was lost in shadow, and walls were lined with alcoves containing statues of her ancestors, their faces twisted in ecstasy and torment, eyes hollow and accusatory. The journal's pages fluttered violently, revealing new markings. Here lies the truth, written in the blood of those who came before. Only the willing may see it without losing themselves. Ilara stepped further in. The floor beneath her feet seemed uneven, shifting, pulsating, as though the manor itself were alive. She noticed faint stains, dark, dried, unmistakably old blood, trailing toward a massive, arching doorway shrouded in thick, curling mist. Shadows clung to the edges, writhing as if watching, waiting. The whispers rose again. Enter. See what you must. The child waits. Her breath hitched. A sudden vision struck her. A girl, white dress flowing, trapped within a glass-like cage of shadows. The child's eyes were wide, unblinking, and she stretched a small hand toward Ilara. Rage and grief surged together. "I am coming, Lily," she cried, tears blinding her. Her love propelled her forward, a sharp weapon against the darkness. As she passed through the archway, the shadows erupted, forming figures of her ancestors, each one more grotesque than the last. They advanced, murmuring accusations, begging, cursing. "Why do you defy us? Why do you seek the child?" Ilara's hands shook, but she held the journal like a shield. "I seek her because she is mine," she spat, voice echoing off the stone, "and I will not fail." The figures halted abruptly. The chamber fell silent except for the distant drip of water. Then the mirror appeared, suspended in mid-air, edges blackened, surface rippling like a living pool. And there, inside, she saw not just Lily, but her ancestors' faces, twisted in eternal torment, their eyes pleading. The veil's hunger was palpable, a living presence that exhaled cold into her lungs. Ilara's voice was a whisper, trembling yet resolute. "Show me the truth. Tell me what you did to her." The mirror pulsed violently, shadows writhing around it, and a soft, chilling laughter echoed through the hidden wing. The veil was awake, and it was ready to reveal everything. Next we discover the first revelation of the curse's origin, and a chilling secret about Lily's fate that turns Ilara's grief into a searing, vengeful fury. Chapter 9. The Curse Revealed. The mirror's surface rippled violently, swallowing the shadows around it like a living void. Ilara's pulse thundered in her ears as she stared into the glass. Lily's face appeared first, pale, eyes wide with terror, lips moving silently. Behind her, a torrent of images unfurled, centuries of her ancestors performing unspeakable acts, rituals of sacrifice, blood, and devotion to the veil. Ilara's knees went weak. Her hands trembled as she realized the truth. The curse was not merely a family legend. It was alive, sustained by generations of their greed, their lust for power, their obsession with defying death. Each child, each sacrifice had fed it. Each ancestor had offered something of themselves, and in return, the veil had given longevity, influence, and unnatural insight. But at a cost none could fully comprehend. A shadow detached itself from the mirror's frame, rising slowly into a humanoid shape. Its face was both her own and not her own, eyes hollow but burning with a terrible intelligence. It whispered, a sound like silk tearing, "You have inherited what was never yours. Your love is power, but also weakness. Will you offer all to claim what was stolen?" Ilara's chest burned with grief and fury. Her mind reeled, memories of Lily's final night twisting into unbearable clarity, the girl's sudden fright, her terrified eyes glancing at the manor's dark corners. This had not been an accident. The veil had claimed her. Her daughter's life had been offered, willingly or not, as payment to the curse that had haunted their bloodline for centuries. Rage tore through her like fire. "No!" she screamed. "You will not keep her. Not from me." The mirror rippled again, and she saw the manor itself, ancient and sprawling, veins of shadow crawling through its walls, feeding on grief, on obsession, on blood. Every ancestor's face appeared, their silent screams melding into one accusing chorus. Then Lily's image shifted, her eyes pleading, her hand outstretched, but trapped behind a wall of black water and shadow. Ilara fell to her knees, sobs shaking her body. But grief alone was no longer enough. A feral determination coiled within her, twisting her sorrow into vengeance. She understood now that the curse could be fought, but the price would be immense. It demanded not only courage, but willingness to risk her very soul, her mind, her life itself. A cold wind swept through the hidden chamber. The shadows pressed closer, whispering, "Mother, prove your devotion, or lose her forever." The journal flared in her hands, as if confirming the only path: ritual, confrontation, and the ultimate offering. Ilara's lips quivered as she spoke aloud, voice steady despite the storm of fear inside her. "I will face this. I will descend into whatever darkness awaits. I will pay the price, and I will bring Lily back, or die trying." The mirror pulsed one final time, shadows writhing like living serpents, and then all was silent, save for a faint, almost imperceptible heartbeat echoing from the glass. Ilara's eyes burned with grief and fury. The veil had revealed its secret. The reckoning had begun. Next, we discover Ilara's preparation for the first ritual and the horrifying test the veil imposes on her body, mind, and soul before she can reach her daughter. Did you know, historically, many cultures believed that mirrors were more than just reflective glass? They were thought to connect to the soul or spirit world. In ancient Rome, people believed that a mirror didn't just show your physical appearance. It also reflected a piece of your soul. Because of this, breaking a mirror wasn't seen as just an accident. It was thought to sever part of your spiritual essence. Romans believed your soul renewed itself every 7 years, so breaking a mirror could damage the soul and bring 7 years of misfortune until it healed again. This is where the now famous superstition of 7 years of bad luck comes from. Across many cultures and centuries, mirrors were also surrounded by superstition that they could act as portals to the spirit world, or trap spirits. In Victorian England and Jewish mourning traditions, mirrors were often covered after a death to prevent spirits from being trapped or lingering among the living. Some believed that if a spirit was able to enter the world, it could use the mirror as a gateway. Even today, mirror folklore survives in popular legends like the Bloody Mary ritual, where chanting a name in a darkened mirror is supposed to summon an apparition, a belief that blends superstition, psychology, and centuries-old mirror lore. These beliefs show how mirrors have long been associated with identity, the soul, and the unknown, making them powerful symbols in horror and supernatural storytelling. Chapter 10. The First Trial. Ilara stood before the mirror, the journal clutched tightly to her chest. The hidden wing was silent now, yet the air thrummed with anticipation, thick and heavy, pressing into her lungs. Candlelight flickered across the shadows that lurked in every corner, stretching into shapes that were almost human. She could feel the veil's gaze, sharp and hungry, testing her resolve, probing her grief. A whisper coiled around her ears, soft and coaxing. "Mother, prove your devotion, or lose her forever." The words sank into her mind, planting seeds of fear, but also determination. Her hands shook as she opened the journal to the section marked with strange red sigils. The first trial strips the flesh of doubt. Only the purest grief and love may survive. Ilara's stomach turned as she read the instructions. The ritual demanded she confront the darkness within herself, to relive every pang of guilt, every moment she had failed Lily. A metallic taste filled her mouth as she knelt before the mirror, heart hammering. Shadows swirled around her feet, rising slowly, writhing like living smoke, pressing against her body with icy hands. The mirror's surface rippled violently. Images of Lily's final moments appeared. Laughter twisted into terror, a sudden cold that she could not explain, and then the fall. Ilara screamed, clawing at the mirror as if she could reach through, but the surface was unyielding. Shadows pressed closer, whispering her failures, magnifying her grief, forcing her to confront every pang of helplessness and rage she had buried deep. Pain lanced through her body as the veil's trial began in earnest. It pressed her into visions where she could feel Lily's fear, the tiny hands clutching at her own, the pleading eyes staring into nothing. Her mind threatened to fracture under the weight of guilt and sorrow. Every tear, every sob, every scream fed the shadows, yet it also strengthened the bond between mother and daughter, sharpening her resolve. "You cannot break me!" Ilara shouted, voice cracking yet fierce. "I will face this, and I will not fail you, Lily!" The shadows recoiled slightly, as if surprised by her defiance. The mirror rippled, Lily's image clearer now, reaching out, her lips forming silent words. "Mother, come for me." The journal's sigils flared with a cold red light, guiding her hands as she traced the markings on the floor. Pain and memory mingled, the smell of blood, the icy chill of the manor's halls, the terror of what had been done. Yet beneath it all, love burned hotter than fear. Her grief had become a weapon, slicing through the veil's illusions, clawing toward the truth. The shadows paused, a low hiss filling the chamber, and the mirror's surface shimmered as if acknowledging her determination. Ilara's chest heaved, sweat and tears mingling. She had survived the first trial, but she knew the veil's hunger was far from sated. The path to Lily would demand more: sacrifice, cunning, and the confrontation with horrors even her mind could not yet imagine. A faint, chilling laugh echoed from the mirror. The veil was patient, but relentless. The next trial awaited. Next we discover the second trial, where the veil twists Ilara's memories into illusions so vivid she cannot tell friend from foe, and betrayal lurks in every shadow. Chapter 11. Illusions of Betrayal. Ilara's head throbbed as she stepped deeper into the hidden wing. The air was colder here, damp with a fog that clung to her skin like icy hands. The journal trembled in her grip, pages fluttering as if alive, whispering warnings she could barely comprehend. The second trial corrupts the heart. Trust no shadow. Fear no memory. From the corners of the chamber, shadows stretched unnaturally, forming shapes that mimicked those she loved. Servants long gone, friends from the village, even fleeting images of Lily herself. Each figure whispered secrets and lies, twisting reality with subtle cruelty. "You failed her," one hissed, its voice a chilling echo of her own. "You abandoned her when she needed you most," cried another, and for a moment Ilara staggered, doubt gnawing at her resolve. Her reflection in the mirror shifted. The face staring back was not entirely her own. It bore an expression of cruelty she did not recognize. Her lips formed words she had never spoken. "You could not save her. You are weak." Rage flared within her chest, mingling with grief, as the shadows advanced, pressing her further into the chamber's icy grip. She clutched the journal, tracing the sigils with shaking fingers. The text guided her through an intricate ritual of grounding, repeating truths aloud, summoning her love and memory of Lily to resist the illusions. "I know you are lies," she whispered, voice quivering. "You are not real. My love is stronger than your deceit." The shadows recoiled, shrieking, their forms twisting into grotesque parodies before vanishing into the fog. A sudden vision seized her. She saw Lily laughing in the garden, then screaming, falling into darkness, eyes pleading. Then her ancestors' faces appeared, twisted with ecstasy and torment, pointing at Ilara accusingly. Every memory, every illusion intertwined, forcing her to read. Live guilt, anger, and grief simultaneously. Her mind threatened to splinter, yet she clung to one unshakable truth. Her love for Lily would not break. A whisper emerged from the mirror, soft but unmistakable. Even love can deceive. Even grief can mislead. Who can you trust? Ilara's pulse thundered. She knew the veil sought to erode her confidence, to twist loyalty and affection into fear. Her own reflection blurred, morphing into the faces of everyone she had ever known, challenging her perception. Her hands tightened around the journal. "I trust only what I feel, only what I remember of her," she said, teeth gritted. "Nothing else matters. Lily, I am coming for you." The shadows shrieked, recoiling into the corners, hissing with rage. The mirror shimmered violently, and for a moment she glimpsed the faint outline of a doorway, her path forward. But even as she stepped toward it, a whisper slithered through her mind. "You are not ready. Betrayal is closer than you think." Elara froze. Somewhere in the twisting corridors of the manor, footsteps echoed, a presence watching, waiting, perhaps one she had once trusted. Her heart hammered. The veil's second trial was only beginning, and danger lurked not just in shadows, but in every memory she clung to. Next, we discover the true nature of the lurking presence, and a chilling revelation that threatens to fracture Elara's sanity as she edges closer to Lily. Chapter 12. The Watching Presence. Elara froze as the echo of footsteps grew louder, uneven, deliberate. Her breath hitched. The shadows in the corridor seemed to lean closer, whispering in voices that mimicked her own thoughts. "She cannot survive. She cannot save her. She will fail." The journal trembled in her hands, pages rustling as if urging her forward, guiding her against the suffocating dread. A figure emerged from the fog at the far end of the hallway, tall, cloaked in shadow, face obscured. The air around it pulsed with a cold so sharp it pierced her bones. She instinctively stepped back, clutching the journal to her chest. "Who's there?" she demanded, voice trembling but resolute. Silence answered at first, then a whisper, low and sibilant. "Mother, why do you come for what is already claimed?" Her heart leapt. Lily's voice, or something wearing it, echoed in the words. Panic surged, twisting with grief. "I am coming for her," Elara cried. "Whatever it costs, whatever stands between us." The figure tilted its head, as if considering her resolve. The shadows shifted around it, writhing, forming grotesque parodies of her ancestors, all eyes fixed on her like a jury of horrors. Images flashed in her mind, unbidden. Lily alone in a room of mirrors, screaming silently as her reflection fractured and multiplied, her ancestors chanting in a circle of black candles, dark water lapping at a pale, small hand. Rage and grief boiled inside Elara, sharpening her purpose. The figure advanced, stepping into the flickering candlelight. Its face was partially revealed, a reflection of herself, twisted, hollow-eyed, lips curving into a cruel smile. "You are not alone," it whispered, "and yet, even you cannot see what awaits." The words carried a weight of inevitability that made her stomach churn. The veil had sent this watcher, not to harm her immediately, but to test her resolve, to see if her love could withstand doubt, fear, and the lure of despair. Elara's hands shook, but determination hardened her spine. "I have faced your tricks, your shadows, your visions," she said, voice steadier now. "I have endured the mirror's trials. I will endure you as well. I will not fail Lily." The figure paused as though impressed or amused. The shadows around it recoiled slightly, hissing. A sudden crash of unseen force rattled the corridor. The watcher vanished into the fog, leaving a cold silence and the faint echo of Lily's name whispered over and over. Elara's chest heaved, adrenaline mingling with sorrow. She had survived this encounter, but the veil's influence was far from broken. Every step forward risked madness, every shadow could be friend or foe, and every heartbeat drew her closer to truths she might not survive. Clutching the journal, she stepped onward, toward the deeper heart of the manor. The faint glow of candlelight ahead revealed a doorway, ornate, foreboding, and entirely new. Beyond it lay the next layer of the veil's horrors, and perhaps the first chance to touch Lily again. Next, we discover the Chamber of Ancestral Confessions, where Elara confronts the terrible acts that bound her bloodline to the veil, and the first clue to breaking it. Chapter 13. The Chamber of Confessions. Elara pushed open the heavy door, the hinges groaning like tortured souls. A thick, musty air hit her face, carrying the scent of ink, decay, and something far darker she could not name. The chamber was vast, circular, lined with alcoves filled with journals, ledgers, and brittle parchments. Candle sconces flickered along the walls, casting long, twisting shadows that seemed almost to watch her every movement. At the center stood a massive mirror, blackened at the edges, rippling faintly. The whispers returned, a low hum vibrating in the stone. All who enter here are seen. All who seek her must confront the truth. Elara's chest tightened. The journal in her hands quivered as if alive, urging her forward. Every instinct screamed both fear and determination. She could no longer hesitate. Lily's life depended on her courage. She stepped between the alcoves, reading hastily scrawled entries. Names, dates, and accounts of rituals performed on children, her ancestors' children, servants' children, bound to the mirror's power through blood, grief, and fear. Each confession told of hunger, of lust for longevity, of sacrifices made in the pursuit of forbidden knowledge. Her stomach churned, bile rising, but she read on, forced to understand the weight of what she had inherited. One journal, older than the rest, trembled in her hands as she opened it. Ink swirled unnaturally, forming letters she could barely comprehend. A single phrase leapt out. The veil does not release what it claims without price. Only the mother's heart, true and unyielding, can summon the lost. Elara's hands shook. She understood. Her grief alone was insufficient. She needed resolve, devotion, and the willingness to risk herself completely. A sudden cold swept through the chamber, extinguishing the candles. Shadows surged from the alcoves, forming shapes of her ancestors, their hollow eyes fixed on her, mouths moving silently as if chanting. Whispers of accusation and warning filled the air. "You are weak. You will falter. She is ours now." Rage flared in Elara's chest, boiling over grief. "I will not falter. Lily is mine. I will not let you keep her." The mirror pulsed violently. Within its black depths, she glimpsed Lily again, pale and terrified, reaching toward her with desperate hands. Around her daughter's image swirled shadows of the past, echoes of ancestors bound in the mirror's hunger. Elara's chest tightened with the suffocating knowledge that each ancestor had been seduced, each child lost, and that she could become just another victim, or break the cycle entirely. A whisper slithered into her mind, soft yet venomous. The mother must choose, save the child or preserve herself. Both cannot survive. Elara's fists clenched. Her love, grief, and fury twisted into a single burning purpose. She would confront the veil fully, no matter the cost. Steeling herself, she turned toward the mirror. The shadows recoiled slightly, the chamber vibrating with anticipation. Every heartbeat pressed her closer to the threshold of revelation and terror, and she knew the next step would either reclaim Lily or destroy them both. Next we discover the first direct confrontation with the veil itself, where Elara must prove her love and courage in a test that will shake her sanity to its limits. Chapter 14. Confronting the Veil. Elara's knees trembled as she stepped closer to the mirror at the chamber's center. The shadows had thickened, curling around her like black smoke, whispering in tongues that felt like fingernails across her skull. Her heart pounded, blood roaring in her ears. She could see Lily clearly now, trapped within the mirror's depths, eyes wide with terror and pleading. The mirror rippled violently, and a voice, deep and resonant, rolled through the chamber. "Mother, why do you seek what was promised to the veil?" The words were neither accusation nor question. They were a challenge, an impossible riddle. Elara's chest tightened. She gritted her teeth. "Because she is my daughter. Because no curse, no shadow, no horror of your making will keep her from me." The surface of the mirror swirled. Shadows rose, forming grotesque figures of her ancestors, their eyes hollow, mouths moving in silent accusation. Elara felt their gaze pierce her very soul, testing her devotion, her resolve, her sanity. Images flickered, Lily falling, Lily screaming, Lily reaching for her, each memory twisted, fractured, feeding into the veil's hunger. A sudden chill lanced through her body. The whispers grew louder, insistent, twisting into commands. Offer yourself. Surrender. Relinquish all. Or lose her forever. Pain lanced in her chest as if the veil itself were clawing at her heart. Rage and grief coiled into a weapon inside her. I will not surrender, she shouted. I will pay your price, whatever it is, but I will not lose her. The shadows recoiled, hissing, as the mirror's surface began to shimmer more violently. Lily's image pressed forward, small hands reaching toward Ilara. The mother's fury and devotion burned brighter than fear, stronger than doubt. Ilara felt the veil testing her every heartbeat, twisting her memories, her emotions, into unbearable visions. Yet beneath the torment, her love remained pure and unyielding. The mirror pulsed, and for the first time it seemed to breathe with recognition. You endure. You burn with love. You sacrifice without surrender. The child may be yours, if you are willing to bleed with truth. The shadows recoiled entirely, revealing the dark water beneath the glass, a void that seemed to stretch into eternity. Ilara's hands shook as she traced the sigils around the chamber, repeating the words from the journal. Her voice trembled, but strengthened with every syllable. Sweat ran down her temples, tears mingled with the grime of fear, but her gaze never left Lily's pleading eyes. She understood the final lesson. The veil demanded complete courage, complete devotion, and willingness to face her own destruction to reclaim her child. The mirror's surface shimmered violently one last time, then stilled. Lily's eyes locked with Ilara's, silent, terrified, and yet filled with hope. The shadows remained at the edges, restless but momentarily halted. The veil had acknowledged her courage, but the path ahead was far from over. Ilara's voice was raw but unwavering. I will face whatever comes next. I will not leave you, Lily. Not now. Not ever. Next, we discover the ritual that will allow Ilara to enter the mirror's depths and confront the true source of the curse, a trial that threatens to consume her body, mind, and soul entirely. Chapter 15. Into the mirror. Ilara's hands were slick with sweat as she circled the mirror, tracing the sigils etched into the cold stone floor. The chamber had grown impossibly dark, shadows stretching like fingers across every surface. The whispers had risen into a chorus now, layered and insistent. Enter, surrender, risk everything, or lose her forever. Her pulse thundered, every nerve screaming that the step she was about to take could destroy her. She glanced at Lily's image in the mirror. The girl's eyes were wide, frantic yet pleading. Mother, the reflection whispered, though no sound escaped the glass. Ilara's chest ached with a mix of grief and fury. She drew a deep, shuddering breath. I am coming, Lily. Hold on. I will find you. The shadows coiled around the edges of the mirror, twisting and writhing, forming shapes that mimicked the ancestors who had bound themselves to the veil. Faces leered, mouths opening to shout accusations she could barely bear. You cannot survive. You will become like us. Surrender. And all will be lost. Rage flared inside her, intertwining with her grief. I will not become like you. I will save my child. The journal quivered violently in her hands, its pages fluttering to a section marked with a crimson sigil. The instructions were clear. To enter the mirror, she must offer herself as a vessel, surrendering her essence to the veil while keeping her will intact. The words sent a shiver through her, and a metallic taste of fear filled her mouth. But there was no other path. Ilara knelt, tracing the sigils with trembling fingers, whispering the incantations. The mirror's surface rippled like water, blackness deepening until it seemed to pull at her very soul. The shadows surged forward, wrapping around her legs, cold and heavy, tugging at her essence. Every memory of Lily, her laughter, her warmth, her last terrified moment, flared inside Ilara's mind, anchoring her resolve. Then, with a final, shuddering breath, she stepped forward. The mirror's surface gave way beneath her feet, like water breaking around a stone. Darkness swallowed her entirely, and the air was filled with voices, her ancestors, the veil itself and Lily, all merging into one suffocating roar. Pain seared through her body, as if the shadows themselves were tearing at her, demanding submission. Ilara gritted her teeth, clutching the journal like a lifeline. Her love, grief and fury burned brighter than the darkness trying to consume her. I will not fail. I will endure. I will save you. The sensation intensified. She felt herself stretched, twisted, dissolved, yet still anchored to the thought of Lily. And then, suddenly, she emerged into a strange, warped reflection of the manor. Shadows danced unnaturally, walls bending and stretching. Somewhere in the distance, she could see her daughter, trapped in a cage of black water, pale and trembling. Ilara's voice trembled but rang with determination. I am here, Lily. I will not leave you, not ever. Next we discover the true heart of the veil, the source of the curse, and the horrifying choice Ilara must make to reclaim her daughter. Chapter 16. The Heart of the Veil. The warped world inside the mirror was suffocating. The air shimmered with cold, heavy malice pressing against Ilara's lungs. Shadows writhed around her like living chains, murmuring accusations, threats, and promises of despair. Every heartbeat echoed, amplified by the cavernous emptiness, each one a reminder of the fragile line between courage and madness. At the center of this distorted reflection of the manor stood a pool of black water, deeper and darker than any night. Floating above it, suspended by strands of shadow, was Lily, pale, trembling, eyes wide and terrified. Ilara's chest ached. She ran forward, ignoring the icy tendrils that tried to coil around her ankles, whispering, "You will fail. You cannot save her. All mothers fall." The water stirred violently, and from its depths rose a figure both terrifying and familiar. It was the veil incarnate, a mass of shadow and smoke, face shifting between every ancestor Ilara had ever seen, their eyes hollow, mouths moving in endless silent screams. Its voice was everywhere and nowhere. You seek what cannot be claimed. To take her, you must offer all, mind, body, heart, soul. Ilara's hands shook, gripping the journal so tightly the pages creased. Rage and grief surged together, aflame against the darkness. "I will pay your price," she shouted, voice raw. "I will endure whatever it takes. Just give me my daughter." The shadows recoiled slightly, hissing, as if testing the authenticity of her vow. The journal pulsed, guiding her hands to trace complex sigils on the warped ground. Every line burned her fingers with a cold fire, visions of her ancestors' torment searing into her mind. She saw children offered willingly, mothers torn apart by grief, lives consumed by devotion to the mirror. The veil's hunger was insatiable, yet the journal whispered a promise. Love, unyielding coup, would pierce its heart. A sharp, icy pain clawed through her chest. She gasped, tears blinding her as the veil lashed at her with illusions of failure. Her own death, Lily lost forever, the manor swallowing them both. But beneath the agony, a single truth anchored her. Her love for Lily was absolute, unbroken by fear, by grief, or by shadow. "Enough!" Ilara roared, stamping her foot, summoning every shred of fury and devotion. She traced the final sigil, her voice chanting the words the journal demanded. The shadows shrieked and twisted violently, but could not break her resolve. A blinding light erupted from the sigils, piercing the darkness, and the veil writhed, shrieking in a soundless, unimaginable fury. The black water quivered, and Lily's form broke free from the strands of shadow. She fell into Ilara's arms, sobbing, fragile but alive. The veil recoiled, the chamber around them shuddering as if mourning its defeat. Ilara held her daughter close, whispering, her voice breaking with love and relief. "I have you. I have you now, Lily. Never again will I let them take you." The shadows retreated, curling back into the mirror's depths, leaving only a faint pulse, a warning that the veil remained, hungry and patient, but momentarily thwarted. Next we discover the bittersweet aftermath of the confrontation where Ilara and Lily faced the manor's lingering darkness and the heavy cost of victory.
Chapter 17. Aftermath and Echoes. Ilara sat on the cold stone floor, cradling Lily in her arms. The warped reflection of the manor inside the mirror had faded to a trembling, dark stillness. The shadows had receded, leaving only a faint hum, a lingering heartbeat of the veil, patient and waiting. Lily shivered, tears streaking her pale face, but alive. Relief surged through Ilara, mingled with exhaustion so deep it threatened to pull her into unconsciousness. The chamber smelled of damp stone and smoke, and the journal lay open beside her, its pages still fluttering, echoing the residual pulse of the ritual. Every line she had traced, every word she had spoken, had exacted a toll. Pain radiated through her chest, fingers and mind. The veil had tested her completely, and though she had endured, she knew the cost had not gone unnoticed. Her grief, rage, and love had been consumed, reshaped into something harder, sharper, and permanent. Lily's small hand clutched hers tightly. "Mother, it's over." Her voice trembled, innocent and fragile, yet weighted with the horrors she had glimpsed, even if only in shadowed whispers. Ilara kissed her hair, inhaling the faint scent of her daughter's hair, so achingly human, so real. "It's over," she whispered, though even she knew the veil was only temporarily defeated, lying in wait for another mother, another child, another century. The mirror stood silent, its surface black and unyielding, as if reflecting nothing but the quiet emptiness of the chamber. Ilara could feel the ancestors' presence still clinging faintly to the walls, specters of their ambition and cruelty. She closed her eyes, willing herself to release the weight of centuries, but the echo of the veil's hunger lingered in her veins. Victory had come at the cost of her innocence, her peace, and some fragment of her soul. Rising, she held Lily close and stepped toward to the Hidden Wing's exit. Every shadow seemed longer, darker, stretching in ways that reminded her of the horrors she had faced. The manor groaned, as if aware that its curse had been defied, but not destroyed. She would leave, but the memories of what she had endured, and what she had been forced to confront within herself, would never leave her. A faint whisper followed her as they reached the staircase. A reminder, soft but chilling. The mother who defies the veil carries it within her, always. Ilara's teeth clenched. She understood now. They were free, for this moment, but the manor, the veil, and the shadow of her ancestors' sins would linger in their lives forever. She paused at the doorway, looking back at the chamber where she had faced the heart of darkness itself. The flicker of candlelight caught the edge of the black mirror, reflecting a fragment of her own face, hardened, weary, yet resolute. Lily leaned into her, small fingers clinging to her mother's hand, and Ilara allowed herself a trembling, brief smile. The veil had been confronted. Her daughter had been saved, but the echoes of grief, rage, and shadow would follow them home, invisible and unrelenting. Ilara took a deep breath, stepping out of the hidden wing, holding Lily closer. The fog-shrouded corridors of the manor awaited, and with them the promise of a tentative dawn. Next we discover the final chapter, where the haunting consequences of the curse, the veil, and the ordeal leave a lasting scar, twisting the ending into a bittersweet, emotionally devastating conclusion. Chapter 18. The Veil's Last Whisper. Ilara stepped onto the misted grounds of the manor, Lily nestled against her chest. The morning fog clung to the stone paths, curling around the hedges like silent fingers. The manor loomed behind them, dark and imposing, its windows like hollow eyes watching her every movement. Even in daylight it seemed alive, breathing, waiting, remembering. For a moment, peace brushed her soul. Lily's small hand tightened around hers, her warmth grounding Ilara in reality. She whispered softly, "We're safe now, Mother. Aren't we?" Ilara's throat tightened. The veil had been confronted. Lily had been saved. Yet a gnawing unease remained, threading through her chest. "For now?" "Yes," she murmured, though even she knew that darkness rarely retreats completely. The wind shifted, carrying a whisper through the garden, a sibilant, echoing voice that chilled her to the bone. "You carry us within you, always, Mother." Ilara's pulse quickened, but she held Lily closer, refusing to let fear dominate. She understood the truth. The veil had been beaten back, but it was patient, lurking in shadow and memory, feeding on grief, rage, and obsession. Its hunger was eternal. As they moved toward the gates, Ilara's eyes fell on the mirror she had left behind in the hidden wing. Its black surface shimmered faintly, reflecting not just the chamber but fragments of her ancestors, lingering like echoes of a nightmare. A shiver ran down her spine. The veil had been defeated this time, but its mark was on her, carved into her very soul. Her love had saved Lily, but it had also reshaped her, leaving a hollow ache where innocence once was. Lily looked up at her, innocence mingled with fear. "Will it come back, Mother?" Ilara paused, choosing her words carefully. "Perhaps," she said, voice soft, yet heavy with unspoken truths. "But we have each other, and for now, that is enough." She forced a smile, though her heart knew the cost of their victory. The shadows she had faced, the rage she had harnessed, and the fragment of herself that had been claimed by the mirror's trial. A crow cawed from the fog-draped trees, its cry sharp and lonely. Ilara pressed Lily to her side, feeling the weight of the manor's history, of the curse, of the veil, and the infinite echoes of mothers and children lost to it. She had endured, fought, and claimed her daughter, but the scars, both visible and hidden, would remain, reminders that even victory carries shadows. As they walked into the grey dawn, the manor loomed behind them, silent yet vigilant. The veil had whispered, tested, and recoiled, but it had not been destroyed. Its hunger lingered, patient and eternal, a shadow in the ancestral veil of blood, grief, and memory. Ilara's love had triumphed, yet in that triumph lay a bittersweet truth. The line between salvation and obsession was razor-thin, and some shadows never truly fade. And in the hush of the fog-shrouded valley, only one certainty remained. Ilara and Lily were free, but the veil's last whisper would haunt them forever. The end.